This is a Channel Africa podcast. You can also get Channel Africa on satellite PAS10, DSTV audio bouquet 802, and OpenView bouquet channel 628.
Our South Sudan's transitional government of national unity and holdout opposition groups resume peace talks on Wednesday in Nairobi, Kenya. The Kenya-led Tumaini Initiative peace talks, which began in May, faced a setback in July when some parties raised concerns about certain points proposed in the negotiations. In August, the interested parties developed 8 protocols to address the identified differences. And for more on this, we are joined on the line by political scientist and international relations expert, Dr. David Matanga.
Thank you very much for calling me, and thank you very much. I'm still on African duties in Amsterdam, in Netherlands, trying to fix Africa from Cameroon and Sudan itself and Libya. Thank you very much. Let's go.
Well, Dr. Matanga, we always appreciate your time. Now, there have already been 2 previous agreements on resolving the conflict in South Sudan. Why are these agreements failing to hold? And the country keeps having these peace talks, but nothing seems to be holding.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would want to take this opportunity to thank President William Samoei Ruto of Kenya for being consistent on making sure that South Sudan gets peace, and for holding, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Kenya for holding this peace process in Nairobi, in Kenya, to put back a process, a package that will fit South Sudan. That is a credit I give to the government of Republic of Kenya for doing that. And I want to encourage them to go ahead so that we achieve peace. 2, the peace process in South Sudan, to your question, why it doesn't hold, is accountability, agenda number 5. We have to do any peace process anywhere in the world, whether in Colombia, whether in Uganda, RRA versus the government of Uganda, which we did ourselves, which opened up South Sudan. In Juba itself, you must have what we call accountability. What has been lagging and lacking in this process was accountability program, agenda number 5 of accountability, which will lead to reconciliation, redemption strategy. That is all what South Sudan needs: a redemption strategy, a forgiveness, a reparation, a restitution, accountability, and a truth telling. That was where things were not working. But I think the mediators now understand that some of us who have been critics, who have been saying it, and one of the things that makes me proud in Africa is to say it. If you hate me, but I want to put it on record. And I always put it on record on several events on your program, and which have later on turned out to be true. Accountability was the main issue, stumbling block in the South Sudan peace processes that have been there by IGAD, by AU, by any other organization.
Now, the president of South Sudan, Salva Kiir, was quoted as saying these Kenya-led Tumaini Initiative peace talks are not about negotiating a new deal, but bridging the gaps while ensuring inclusivity in this new framework. How is this different from the 2016 and 2018 agreements? You've touched on something that's very key, accountability being on the table. And now what else?
You cannot do any peace process in the world, whether you go to the nearest angel, Gabriel, and ask him who is near to the earth than any other angels that we have ever heard about, and ask him what can make a peace process hold. It's agenda number 5, accountability. His Excellency General Salva Kiir himself and General Riek Machar and others, they are the people who initiated peace processes in Africa. We concluded a peace process of Uganda between the Lord Resistance Army and the Uganda government in Juba itself. Dr. Yakamacha was the person spearheading it, and then Salva Kiir was overseeing it. They know very well, if you don't have accountability, agenda number 5, reconciliation, that one cannot work. Therefore, the 2016 could not have worked because there were not, these ingredients were missing. And today, many other groups went on splitting out from main groups, and the main groups split into smaller groups. 2, we lacked the capability to police the agreements. The agreements could not be policed. The international community left South Sudan on its own. I want to turn to these superpowers, these so-called superpowers of the West, America, Britain, France, Russia, China, and others that claim to be having superiority, that want to use Africa as a playground to turn to support South Sudan, to support the peace process. Without the support of the peace process financially, materially, and logistically, it would be very difficult for you to attain peace. So they should support the Kenya government, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Kenya, the government of President William Ruto, in order to find a long-lasting solution for the peace process to go on and for peace to return to South Sudan.
Dr. Matanga, IGAD, regional bodies, in terms of their role in all of this, and seeing stability being brought back to South Sudan, accountability being one of the key factors as you keep mentioning. But what needs to be done differently this time around? Apart from accountability and people accepting that their role or their part in the crisis in South Sudan, moving forward, what should happen?
We should now focus on what can happen. What happened has happened. Focus on what can happen if we don't secure agreement. Where are we between 2016 and now? So South Sudan needs to reflect. The leaders in South Sudan, all of them, need to reflect like we did in the Uganda scenario. We reflected the 23 years of a war that ravaged our country and killed our country, destroyed our country. We said enough is enough. Some of us had differences with President Museveni, but we moved on. We shook hands. We said enough is enough. Our country needs peace. Today, northern Uganda is peaceful. South Sudan needs to take examples from here. Talk about IGAD. IGAD is a dismembered, punctured football that cannot be played because some of the members of IGAD have taken sides in the conflict. Apart from Kenya, that remains neutral. Some countries have taken sides. Therefore, don't tell me about IGAD. The IGAD Secretariat, especially the Secretary General or Executive Director there, is just swallowing dollars. But he does. He doesn't know exactly what a conflict is, which direction it takes. They have been sucked into the internal dynamics of the politics of South Sudan and other conflicts in the region. If you look at the conflict of Sudan, the main Sudan in Khartoum is again IGAD, the failure of being neutral. They have taken sides. So for us, let's help the government of Kenya. Let's speak frankly as Africans. I am no longer in the 50s that I should be shy from speaking the truth about Africa. I'm going towards the maker. And I don't want to be asked questions. Why didn't you speak? I am speaking like a man who knows what conflicts are, who knows what wounds of a conflict are, of conflicts are in Africa. That's why I am out here and making sure that I tell it, call out upon IGAD to pull out their socks, and be credible, not to be part and parcel of escalation of the conflicts in our region.
Dr. Matanga, it's always a pleasure chatting to you, and thank you always for availing yourself on Africa Update. We'll leave it there for today.
Thank you very much, Lulu, and continue all the time asking me. I have already gone to the ICC, place my caveat, place my documents to to the ICC to investigate Mr. Paulo Pia and to investigate Libya, Mr. Sarkozy. We must bring Sarkozy to accountability. He erred. He personalized the war in Libya, which helped South Africa to liberate itself. We must also bring the generals in Khartoum to the table. Either they come to the table or we isolate them. That is my role I'm doing, and I'll do it without fear or favor. Thank you, Lulu.
It's a political scientist and international relations expert, Dr. David Matanga, joining us on the line.
That podcast was courtesy of Channel Africa, the African perspective.